Hi fashion designer and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to share with you how to make this stylish bustier that has a V under bust. So if you want to know how it is done, make sure that you give the tutorial a thumbs up. So I'm going to start with my pattern. I went ahead and I took my pattern and I traced them down over here, the front including the back. So once you're done with tracing them out, you want to go ahead now and measure from shoulder to waist. I'm working with the 17 inches. And then I'm going to mark from shoulder to under bust. In case your pattern doesn't have the under bust measurement, go ahead and measure from shoulder to under bust. And then once I'm done, I'm going to measure half of my apex measurement plus half of an inch, which is 4.5. Then I'm going to mark a dot, which is 1 inch on both sides. And of course, it needs to be included on the side. But now this is going to be the waistline, and this is the under bust, and this is the bust point line. So I'm going to extend the dot on the under bust line. And once you're done doing this, you want to also extend the dart leg right on the bust point line. From the bust point line, you want to go down by around 1.5 inches. If you're on a bigger bust, go down by 2 inches. And then reconnect the darts again. So now moving on, you want to go ahead now and measure the bust point to the under bust measurement. In my case, it's actually 4 inches. So this is more like a bust radius. So before I mark the bust radius, I'm going to divide the shoulder into half. And once I find the center point, I'm going to just mark it over here and then extend it all the way down to the bust point line. Now, once you're done doing that, you're going to take your bust radius, which is going to be 4 inches. I'm going to go down a little bit by 1 inch, which is going to be 3 inches, because I don't want the upper cup to be way too high on my chest. So now once you're done doing this, you want to go ahead now and create a dot. So I'm going to put a dot of around 1/2 inch on both sides, and in centimeters, it's 1.5 cm. And then once you're done, connect this to form a dart leg. Moving on to the bust point line, just around this area, you want to take a dart width. So I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on the other side and 1/2 inch onto the other side, which is 1 centimeter, and on the other side is another 1 centimeter. And then just like that, you will complete. It's time now to create a sweetheart shape. So from this dart leg, from the chest line, I'm going to go up by around 1 inch and then reconnect it with the dart leg. And then right on the other side, I'm going to connect this point here. But before I do that, I need to implement my measurement, quarter of my waist plus this 2 inch width of dart. I need to edit there, and of course 1 inch seam allowance. As for the chest line, I'm going to measure quarter of my bust measurement. I'm going to mark it right here, and then 1 inch for seam allowance. And I am going to connect these 2 points. So once I'm done, this is where now I'm going to create the armhole for the sweetheart neckline, or for the bustier. I want to create a dot right around the armhole to avoid any gaping. So I'm just going to create a dot of around 1 cm or 1/2 inch. Right around the armhole, just mark a dot. This will help the bustier not to be gaping around the armhole also. And we're going to later on close it down. So moving on now to the under bust line, I'm going to mark 4 centimeter in a 45-degree angle And right at this point, please make sure you don't go above 4 centimeter or 1.5 cm. And then I'm just going to reconnect it like this to create a V shape right on the underbust. Now what you want to do is to go ahead now and close the side dart. So in order to close the side dart, I'm just going to slit open this area, and then also I'm going to open up the chest dart and then proceed to closing the side dart. And you will notice that it went out of shape here on the side. Go ahead and just fix that. Mark a straight line, which is the seam allowance, and then you're complete. You want to finish it off now and close the armhole dart also right around here. And just like that, you are done with the side piece of the bustier. I'm going to separate the bottom piece with the caps, and also I'm going to close the upper cap of the bustier. I'm going to close the dart. And once I'm done doing that, I am going to mark here on the underbust, mark going up around 2 centimeters. And then you just want to reconnect the 2 cm to the underbust dart as shown here on the screen. Now once we're done, you want to go ahead and cut out this piece. You're separating the bottom piece from the cap. And then you want to close down the dart once you are complete. Now as for the caps, you want to separate them from this line over here, and then just like that you're going to have an upper cap and a lower cap. And as for the lower cap, you want to cut out the dart. Now you want to proceed and draft the back pattern, which is very easy. Now you want to make sure that the side seam actually match up with the back part of your pattern. As you can see here, I'm trying to make sure that they do match up. Now once you're done, you want to go ahead now and add 1/4 of your waist round measurement plus the 1 inch of the dart which came with my pattern, and 1 inch of seam allowance. And of course here it has my zip allowance over here, so it also includes zip. My back pattern includes zip allowance. So I'm going to extend the dart to that chest line and mark 0.5 inches on both sides. Once I've marked 0.5, I am going to go down here on the zip allowance. I'm going to move down by 2 centimeters, which is 1 inch. And then connect these 2 points to the armhole. Just like that, you are done with the back pattern. I'm going to cut this pattern as one piece, which makes it easier when you're going to cut this pattern on fabric. Once you have all your pattern pieces, it is time to add seam allowance. Adding seam allowance is very easy. I've added 1 cm on the bottom part of the pattern for the front piece, and also for the upper cap and the lower cap I've added seam allowance all around it, and I proceeded to cut it also on fold, as you can see. And also for the upper cap I did the same thing. I added seam allowance except the side, and I also added at the bottom. And for the back piece, I only added seam allowance on top except the side seam. Now let's go ahead and test out these patterns. You can go ahead and cut this pattern on fabric, but I usually like to actually sew the pattern, and that's where I get to save fabric and fix the mistakes that will actually occur when I'm drafting or sewing on fabric. So once I've closed down all my cap, I'm gonna turn this the correct side, hoping that this fabric paper won't tear. And I want to try it on my bust, and I'm already happy how it looks. The cups are not so big, they're good. You can make some changes. So I'm going to join it with the bottom part here so that I can get the fine overall look. So this is how the front pattern actually looks. So if there's any changes that you might not like, you can go ahead and change it on the pattern. And I went ahead, I sewed the pattern on fabric, and I must say I really love the fit. I can't wait to make a complete dress with this bustier. So if you loved the tutorial, please make sure that you give it a thumbs up.